The problem or the crisis that we faced and what really kind of all came together to initiate what ultimately became Business Plus at the time was the general economy. Statewide, certainly southern Idaho being extremely agriculturally based at that time, even far more so than today. I mean, this is still an agricultural community, but back in the early 80s, it was agriculture, period. We didn't have a dairy industry like we have today, and we all lived and died as business community and as a community in general based on the price of beans and potatoes, and they were down for several years.
The economy was just horrible. And we saw signs around town that said, last one out, turn out the lights. So that prompted several of us to find out what's going on here.
Historically, the way economic development was done in southern Idaho is each little community had a little tiny budget. They would print tourist brochures. That was their economic development program. We then realized that that was not a very effective model. What the real catalyst was is that we were in a recruitment effort with Trust Choice to bring their new Norco window facility to fill the Kellwood building south of town. We hadn't had any non-ag industry in the community to speak of, so this was a really big catch for us. We were on a short list of a number of communities around the region, and it finally got down to 2 communities, ourselves and Bend, Oregon. So we sent a small delegation, the city, Chamber of Commerce, a couple of business people up to meet with the executives at Trust Choice. And a decision had been made prior to going up there that when we met with them, we were going to do everything we could to make a deal. The Kellwood building was available at a relatively attractive price. I think it was like $500,000 for several 100,000 square feet of tilt-up concrete building. So anyway, we got into the negotiations, and as we talked along, it was they were looking at Bend, Oregon or Twin Falls, Idaho. And we basically made the pitch that if we buy that building and give it to you, will you come? Room got a little quiet. They asked us to step out in the hall for a few minutes while they discussed it among themselves. And we're sitting out there and they go, it's kind of one of those mixed blessings, because you go, okay, we really want these folks. It's going to be a big deal for us. But if they say yes, what the heck are we going to do? Because we didn't have $500,000. So anyway, we go back in the room, and as history has shown, they said, yes, we will come. And so on the way back to Twin Falls, we're scratching our heads going, okay, we've just written a check for $500,000+ as an economic development group, and the city another $500,000 to participate in some of the infrastructure building. And how are we going to deal with that? Because the rest of our body was not able to cash that check, as the old cliche goes. So the idea came up to develop a campaign in the private sector to raise $500,000 to cover the liability that we had gone out on a limb to create for the community without asking them.
Well, we did the numbers, met with individual business people, banks, power company, gas company, and explained to them what was going on. And of course, they were big players in realizing what the economy did for them as well. So when we explained how we were going to do this and how many jobs it would create and what the end result would be, they moved right along. That helped us to get some of the smaller businesses, the small guy that looked up and said, hey, they are putting their money up, and we should do the same thing.
So it was really, okay, this is an investment in your future as a business. Because if we don't do it, you may not have a future. Pretty easy sell in reality. And a lot of people stepped up. Our major financial institutions, the utilities.
We had not really had an effort to attract new business to the territory. In fact, at that time, we were short on energy. we were in a pretty strong energy conservation mode. Didn't really want to build new power plants because those were expensive, but the wisdom of our executives at that time that this effort would be good for the community and thus good for all of our customers, good for us as a company.
But the vast majority were just small businesses making relatively, small contributions, $500 over a 5-year period or $1,000. And, after you get enough of those, and I think we had over 50 subscribers in the original pool of Business Plus players, and it adds up to some money. But look what's happened to our community in southern Idaho over the last 10, 15 years as a result of that mentality that we can control our destiny, we can make a difference, and we're not going to sit here and wait for the state to come help us, the federal government to come help us, or to do it for us. And that's really been the backbone of southern Idaho, is that willingness to step up and help yourself, make something happen.
It was difficult to get the outlying communities, particularly the major communities, with the higher populated communities, to work together, because we were always looked at as probably the big brother, and that we were just trying to do something that would not benefit them. But you can see what happened to in Jerome County and Minidoka-Cassia County area after they realized they could do the same thing. And we all had something there. For instance, we would run out of some utility, Jerome would have it, or Minidoka or Cassia County would have it, and so it worked. We just said, look, we're going to benefit. We're the major retail for the area. You take this company and treat them right, and they'll hire 50, 100, or 200 people, and we'll all benefit. That was a hard sell. That was a very difficult time to try to get them to understand that we really aren't going to take all this. We need your help. After the first couple companies that came in here, Jerome, and went to Jerome or Burley Rupert, then after that it just boomeranged.
Certainly, it's absolutely important. In Business Plus case, it was all about making sure our communities stayed healthy with vibrant economies, and a lot of that is business to business. In fact, most of it is business to business. Yes, you have some retail and that kind of thing, but manufacturing was always kind of the focus. We needed to really zero in on a brand for this area and this region, which with CEDO's efforts and Business Plus efforts we did. But skin in the game was very important for business people. And with the right story, that if you'll help with this effort, this is an untried effort really, where you have private investors helping economic development efforts. Certainly they've done it through their dues at the chamber from time to time and that kind of thing, but actually having a business to business effort to contribute to an organization like Business Plus would help their business in the long run. It really has worked and does work. That's the way to conduct this kind of an effort. That whatever you do to help the region as a whole will come back to help you and your business and the whole region.
Small businesses. There were a number of small businesses that we helped them buy a small piece of equipment. And by doing that, they were able to hire 4 or 5 people. So that 4 or 5, and you do that 20 times, and mounts up pretty quick. And that was how we were able to show the small businesses that they should participate as well. One comes to mind is Rex Lytle at Lytle Signs. He was reluctant to participate, but he was one of the fundraising group that went out to raise the first funds. And when we found out what he was doing, he had to buy this huge piece of equipment, printing machines, and he hired 7 or 8 people by doing that, and boom, there it went. He was one of the successes that said, I did it, I used it, and I'd do it again.
You know, investing in business is good business for all of us in the future. And if you look at the history of BP and the success we've had, you know, I remember a time when we kept a spreadsheet to see how we impacted wages in this valley. And when we got a $2 increase, we thought that was a huge, huge success. Today, we're so far beyond those numbers that we just are amazed by our own success. But if you're a business person and you invest a little bit every year with BP, what you're basically doing is ensuring a better future, a better economy for this entire region. The only thing we know about business for certain is businesses go out of business. And if we're not creating more opportunity for those employees that are laid off in those situations, then it's bad for all of us, because the job that gets lost may be yours or your neighbor. And so it's investing in all of our futures when you invest in Business Plus.